I never thought my hands would shake like this at my age. Not after everything life had already put me through. Not after raising children, burying loved ones, and surviving the kind of heartbreak only a long marriage can bring. But that morning, that quiet Sunday morning, I felt something break inside me in a way I hadn't felt since I lost my mother. And all because of a little folded piece of paper. A note hidden inside my husband's Bible, the very Bible he had carried to church for 43 years. The same Bible that smelled like him, the soft edges worn from his thumb rubbing scripture when he was deep in thought, the one he used when he prayed for our children's future, for my health, for our home. I had never opened it without him, never touched it unless he handed it to me. But that morning, he wasn't there to stop me. You see, my husband passed away nearly 6 months ago. And since that day, I've been wandering around this house like a ghost, bumping into memories, tripping over silence, and waking up every night reaching for a man who is no longer beside me. Some widows say time helps. But for me, time just left more empty spaces to fill. I kept his Bible on the nightstand. Not because I planned to read it, but because it made me feel like he was still praying over me. But on this particular morning, Mother's Day, I felt an ache I couldn't explain. A heaviness, as if someone had placed a stone right inside my chest. I got out of bed, made myself a cup of tea, sat down at the dining table, and stared at his Bible. Something inside me whispered, "Open it." I reached for it slowly. My fingers brushed the leather cover, cold at first, then warm as if it recognized me. When I opened it, a folded piece of paper slipped out and fluttered into my lap. My heart jumped. My husband was a simple man, quiet man. He didn't write letters. He didn't leave notes. He wasn't sentimental that way. Not with words, at least. With actions, yes. Always with actions. He showed love by fixing things, by building things, by holding me close during storms, and by staying even when everyone else walked away. So a note? That was unusual. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The paper felt old, older than I expected. A little yellow around the edges. Carefully folded, as if he had opened and refolded it many times. My chest tightened. Is this for me? I whispered to the empty room, but silence answered me back. I finally opened it. My husband's handwriting, imperfect, slanted, familiar, stared back at me. Before I even read the words, tears filled my eyes. Just seeing his writing again was like hearing his voice. But when I finally forced myself to read it, my whole world froze. If you are reading this, it means I didn't get to tell you the truth myself. I swallowed hard. My vision blurred. My hands trembled so badly I had to place the paper flat on the table to keep going. I need you to know something about the secret I have carried. Secret? My husband? The man who couldn't lie to save his life? The man whose face turned red when he tried to hide anything? That man? No, this couldn't be right. My breath caught in my throat, but I kept reading. I never wanted to hurt you. Every choice I made because I loved you more than my own life. My heart started pounding. What choice? What was he talking about? A terrible thought crept into my mind. The kind of thought you shake your head at but can't escape. Was there another woman? I hated myself for thinking it. But grief makes your mind cruel. I wiped my tears and continued. The day I married you, I promised God I would protect you. And I tried. But there was something from my past I could not erase. Past? Something he never told me? My stomach twisted. Before I met you, I made a mistake. A mistake that found its way back into our lives many years later. My breath hitched. Something from before we met resurfaced later? What mistake? A debt? A crime? A relationship? I felt dizzy. I read the next line, and everything inside me shattered. Her name is Lily. Lily? Who was Lily? I blinked hard, reading the line over and over again. No relative of his was named Lily. No friend. No coworker. No childhood acquaintance mentioned in the past. Nothing. I had never heard this name in all our years together. And then the next line crushed what little breath I had left. She came to see me the year before I got sick. My blood ran cold. Someone visited him? Someone named Lily? Someone he didn't tell me about? Why? Why would he hide that? I felt anger twist with grief. A sour, painful mix. But the next line stopped my heart completely. I wanted to tell you, but she asked me not to. What? She said it would destroy you. Destroy me? What secret could possibly be so big, so painful, that my husband thought it would break me? My hands curled into fists. Who was this woman? Why did she have so much power over him? And why would my husband listen to her over me? I forced myself to keep reading, even though part of me didn't want to know anymore. I met her long before I knew you existed. But what I didn't know then was that she was carrying my child. The room spun. I felt everything inside me collapse at once. Child? Child. A child from before we met? A child he never told me about? My heart pounded so hard I pressed my hand to my chest. I whispered through trembling lips. No, he would never. He would have told me. But then another voice, cold, logical, asked, why didn't he? My throat tightened. My eyes burned. I wanted the note to end. I wanted it to disappear. I wanted to wake up and find my husband alive, telling me none of this was real. But my eyes kept moving despite the pain. I didn't know until she tracked me down. She said she didn't want anything from me, only to tell me the truth before it was too late. Too late? Too late for what? I wiped my eyes and kept going. Her child, my child, was gone. A tragedy I never knew about until it was too late to be a father. I gasped out loud. Gone. Their child. His child. Dead before he even knew she existed? Suddenly, the anger I felt twisted into something else. Something softer. Something sad. He had lost a child he never got to meet. And he carried this alone. Silently. For years. The thought broke something in me in a new way. But the note wasn't over. Lily only asked me for one thing, forgiveness. Forgiveness? She didn't want you to know because she feared it would make you think less of me. I pressed my hand to my mouth, trying not to sob. Think less of him? I loved that man more deeply than life itself. Nothing could make me think less of him. My vision blurred again. But I should have told you. I regret it. I regret hiding the truth. I regret letting you carry my pain without knowing what it was. Pain? What pain? He never acted differently. He never seemed distant. He never showed any sign he was struggling. Or had he? Had I missed it? My throat tightened with guilt. The final lines of the note felt like knives. If I had more time, I would have found a way to explain everything. But if you are reading this, my time ran out. My tears fell freely. Please forgive me. The last words were shaky, as if his hands were weak when he wrote them, as if he knew the end was near. I love you always. Your husband. I collapsed into the chair, clutching the paper against my chest. My husband had kept this secret, not out of betrayal, Not out of unfaithfulness, but out of guilt and heartbreak and fear of hurting me. I don't know how long I sat there, sobbing into my hands. Minutes, hours, the whole morning. When I finally looked up, sunlight had shifted across the floor. I opened the Bible again, maybe to see if there was more, but something else caught my eye. Something that made my heart beat harder. A second note, a much smaller one, tucked deep between Psalms, and written in different handwriting. A woman's handwriting. Thin, curved, delicate, and at the top just one line. If you're his wife, you deserve to know the rest. My breath stopped. There was more. Much more. And suddenly I realized something. My husband might not be the only one who kept secrets. For a moment I just stared at that second note. My mind felt hollow, empty. As if my soul had stepped out of my body and left me sitting alone in that silent dining room. My husband's handwriting I could handle. My husband's confession I could process. Slowly, painfully, tearfully, but still I could understand it. But a second note? Written by a woman named Lily? It felt like someone had reached into my marriage, and left fingerprints on moments I thought belonged only to us. My hand shook as I reached for the smaller, thinner piece of paper tucked deep inside the pages of Psalms. The page it was hiding in. I noticed it only then. Psalm 51. Have mercy upon me, O God. A psalm of repentance. A psalm my husband used to read when he felt guilty or burdened. My vision blurred. Had he cried over this secret with God because he couldn't cry over it with me? Had he prayed for forgiveness every night while lying next to me? My heart twisted painfully. I picked up the second note. The paper was softer, worn from being handled many times. A faint smell of lavender clung to it, something I didn't use. Something foreign to my home. Something that belonged to another woman. I inhaled sharply. A jealousy I had never felt in my life tightening around my ribs. But I told myself, read it first. Know the truth before you judge. I unfolded the note carefully. The handwriting was beautiful, elegant, precise. The handwriting of someone who thinks before she writes, or someone who feels too much and needs to control every stroke of the pen. At the top she had written, if you're his wife, you deserve the truth he couldn't tell you. My eyes stung. I began reading. My name is Lily. If you're reading this, your husband is gone. I'm deeply sorry for your loss. I know he loved you. He loved you in a way that made it impossible for me to ask anything of him. I swallowed hard. She knew about me. She knew he was married. She knew he loved me. And despite everything, she wrote to me. Why? I kept reading. I want to tell you something that he didn't. Not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't. Couldn't? What does that mean? My hands trembled as I held the paper. He didn't know the whole story. He only knew what I allowed him to know. Allowed? My jaw tightened. So she kept secrets too. She controlled the story. She held the truth like a weapon she decided when to release. My chest felt tight. I didn't tell him everything because I was afraid. Afraid of ruining his life. Afraid of making him hate me. Afraid of taking away the peace he found with you. Peace. That word struck me hard. My husband was the calmest man I ever knew. Steady, gentle, quiet. He carried storms inside him but never let them touch me. Was that because of her? Because of what he went through before me? Because of a child he didn't know about? I pressed my fingers to my forehead as a headache throbbed behind my eyes. But the note continued. Please don't hate him. He was a good man. I'm writing this because I want you to know the truth, because a wife deserves truth more than anyone. I exhaled shakily. I met your husband when we were young. We were barely adults, and we made mistakes that young people make. One of those mistakes resulted in a pregnancy neither of us expected. My heart sank. Yet, I already knew this part from him. But then the next line chilled my blood. But what he didn't know is that the child didn't die the way I told him. I froze. I reread the words. My eyes widened. I lied. My body went cold. Our child wasn't gone. She was alive. She is alive. I slapped my hand over my mouth as a muffled cry escaped. Alive? Alive. The child my husband thought he lost. The child he cried for in silence. The child he wrote about in his note. She was alive? Still alive? A living person? A living part of him? A living part of his past? Tears burned down my cheeks. Why didn't you tell him? Why did you lie? Why did you steal years from him? My breath came out shaky as the note continued. I didn't tell him because I was terrified. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't know what to do. I was young, broke, scared, and alone. My anger softened. I knew what it was like to be young and scared. Life wasn't gentle with girls back then. People judged you, rejected you, punished you, but still lying cost so much. My parents forced me to give her up for adoption. They said your husband wasn't good enough. He came from the wrong side of town, had no money and no future in their eyes. They banned me from seeing him, from calling him, from telling him anything. My breath trembled. Forced adoption. Parents controlling a girl's life. Society tearing families apart. It was horrible, but it happened often in those days. I tried to tell him. I really did. But my father threatened to have him arrested for corrupting a minor. He was only 19. I was 17. A soft gasp slipped from my lips. 19 and 17. Barely more than children themselves. My heart ached for both of them. Years passed before I found the courage to look for him. But by then, he had already met you. I closed my eyes, letting the sadness wash over me. He was happy. I saw it in his face when he talked about you. He told me, "I think she's the one God made for me." A sob escaped me. He did say that. Not in those exact words. But he said, "You're the home I didn't know I needed." I wiped my cheeks. So I made the hardest decision of my life. I decided not to tell him about our daughter. I didn't want to break the beautiful life he had built with you. My hands trembled in anger. She should have told him. He had a right to know. We both did. But the note wasn't done. But last year my daughter found me. My eyes widened. She asked about her father. She wanted to know everything. And I couldn't lie anymore. My heartbeat quickened. Before your husband died, I brought her to see him. My blood turned to ice. What? She didn't go inside. She didn't speak to him. She only watched him from the car. She said she wasn't ready. She wanted to meet him when she felt stronger. My pulse thundered in my ears. So our home had been watched. Observed. Someone sitting outside looking at my husband, looking at me. I felt sick. He never knew she was there. I didn't tell him. I didn't want to overwhelm him when he was sick. A shaky breath escaped me. So he never met her. Not even by accident. But she saw him. She saw the man she never got to grow up with. My husband died not knowing his daughter was alive. My heart cracked in half. She cried when she saw him. She said he walked like her, smiled like her. She said she felt like she already knew him. Tears streamed freely down my face. I imagined a woman, grown now, sitting in a car watching a man who didn't know she existed. A daughter staring at her father for the first time, mourning a relationship she never had, longing for a father who would have loved her deeply. My breath trembled. I am writing this to you now because my daughter wants to meet you. My heart stopped. She wants to know the woman her father loved so much he talked about her, even when he thought he was dying. A choked sob escaped me. He talked about me? Even then? Even in his final days? I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but she deserves to know where she comes from. And you deserve to know. You deserve to have a part of your husband still living in this world. My hands covered my mouth as a wave of emotion crashed over me. Part of my husband, still alive, walking the earth, breathing, existing, looking for answers, looking for me? I reread the final lines several times before they finally settled into my soul. If you want to meet her, call me. If you don't, I'll understand. At the bottom of the paper was a phone number. A number written carefully, almost fearfully. I stared at it for a long time. The clock ticked on the wall. Birds chirped outside. Life went on around me as if I hadn't just discovered that my husband had a daughter. A life grown needing closure. Finally, I whispered the words out loud. I need to meet her. Not out of anger. Not out of jealousy. Not out of fear. But because she lost her father. And I lost my husband. And maybe, just maybe, we could heal each other. I reached for the phone. My fingers hovered over the numbers. Just as I pressed the first digit, my doorbell rang. Loud, clear, unexpected. I froze. Who would visit me this early? Then a thought, wild, impossible, terrifying, shot through my mind. What if it's her? When I opened the door that night, my body felt as heavy as my heart. The air was cool and a soft gust of wind brushed against my face. But the girl standing before me, she froze everything inside me. She couldn't have been more than 20, maybe 21. Long brown hair shaking slightly in the breeze. Eyes reddened like she'd been crying for hours. A small backpack slung over one shoulder. And in her trembling hands she held something. A Bible. My husband's Bible. My breath stopped. For a moment I couldn't move. I just stood there gripping the doorknob like it was the only thing keeping me upright. The girl swallowed hard. Hello. Are you Mrs. Miller? My chest tightened. Mom, are you okay? She asked softly. I blinked back into the moment, nodding slowly. Yes, I'm Mrs. Miller. She exhaled, visibly relieved. I didn't know if you still lived here. Her voice cracked, thin and unsure, like someone who had been walking in fear for days. I stepped aside. Well, you're here now. Come inside, dear. She hesitated at the threshold, glancing behind her at the dark street, then back at me. Finally, she stepped in. And the moment she crossed the doorway, I felt a strange shift. Like something big, something life-changing had just entered my world. The girl places the Bible on my table, and the name written inside isn't mine or my daughter's. We moved into the living room, and I motioned toward the sofa. She sat at the very edge, back straight, fingers gripping that Bible like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. I sat across from her, hands folded tightly in my lap. Let's start with your name, sweetheart. She took a deep breath. My name is Emily. A beautiful name. But the next words she said, they nearly ripped my heart out. I think I think your husband was my father." My blood ran cold. I stared at her, sure I had heard wrong. Sure my tired old mind had twisted her words. But she looked right at me, eyes honest, voice shaking with truth. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Not until after he died." A quiet, broken sound escaped me. Half gasp, half cry. My husband had a daughter? A child he never told me about? A secret he took to the grave? My hands trembled. "Dear, please tell me everything. From the beginning." Emily nodded slowly, like she had practiced this moment in her mind, over and over, but was still terrified to speak. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope, old, yellowed, and addressed in handwriting I knew too well. My husband's handwriting. "To Emily, if something ever happens to me." My heart twisted. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. She wiped her cheeks. "My mother gave it to me right before she died last month." I felt my breath hitch. She continued. "She told me she met your husband years ago, that she kept my birth a secret because she didn't think he would accept me. But after she got sick, she said I deserved to know the truth." Tears welled in her eyes again. "And she gave me the letter. And the Bible. The Bible. The one I found earlier with the hidden note." My hands tightened around the armrest. "Did you read the letter?" I asked softly. She shook her head. "I was too scared. I thought, maybe you'd read it with me." My God, this girl, this fragile, scared young woman, had walked all the way to my door not knowing if I'd scream at her or hold her. Emily opens the letter, and a photo falls out. A photo of my husband holding a newborn baby. With trembling fingers, Emily finally opened the envelope. A folded paper slid out. And then, a small photograph fluttered onto the floor. My heart nearly stopped. There he was, my husband, holding a newborn baby girl. He looked younger, his hair darker, his smile the same warm curve I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. But the baby, it wasn't Lily. It wasn't any child I knew. I pressed a hand against my chest. Oh my Lord. Emily sniffed. "I look just like him, don't I?" She did. More than she even knew. The same shape of eyes. The same gentle eyebrows. Even the same little chin dip my husband had always been embarrassed about. I looked at her, and the truth hit me like a train. This girl wasn't lying. She was his. Emily smoothed out the letter and began to read. Her voice shook. "My dear Emily, I hope someday you'll forgive me." My breath caught. "I should have been there for you. I should have fought harder to be part of your life. Not a day goes by that I don't think about you." Emily's tears dripped onto the page. "If life ever brings you to my home, please know you will always be welcomed. Your stepmother is a kind woman. She has love in her heart. And she," her voice broke, "she deserves your kindness too." I covered my mouth as tears flooded my eyes. "He knew about me," she sobbed. "He wanted to know me. Oh, sweetheart." I moved to her side and wrapped my arms around her trembling shoulders. She collapsed into me, crying like the little girl she never got to be with him. We stayed like that for a long time. Two women, connected by the same man. Both hurt, both grieving, both trying to understand a truth buried for decades. Then Emily whispered something that chilled me to the bone. After she calmed down a little, she lifted her head. "There's more. There's something else I need to tell you." My stomach twisted. "What is it, dear?" She swallowed hard, her face pale. "I think someone followed me here." A wave of ice rushed down my spine. Followed you. She nodded. When I left the bus station, I felt like someone was behind me, and when I got close to your house, a car slowed down, then sped away. My heartbeat thudded. Why would someone follow you? Emily looked down at the Bible. I think it has something to do with the other note. My breath vanished. Other note. She reached into the Bible again and pulled out a folded paper I had never seen before. This one wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to you. The room felt colder, heavier, filled with secrets my husband never told me. Why didn't you show me this earlier? I whispered. Because I think this note is the reason someone might be watching me. She placed the paper in my shaking hands. Mrs. Miller, your husband mentioned something in here that someone might want. Her voice trembled. And he said you would understand when you read it. My hand shook as I held the unopened note. I stared at my husband's handwriting and felt my world tilt. What could he have hidden? What truth was dangerous enough that someone would follow this poor girl? My breath trembled. I think we should read it together, Emily whispered. I nodded slowly. Yes, together. I unfolded the note, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely breathe. And as the first words came into view, a chill rushed through my bones. This wasn't just a secret. It was a warning from beyond the grave. I sat there on the edge of our bed, still holding that old Bible like it was burning my hands. My husband's handwriting stared back at me from that little folded note, soft, faded ink, but sharp enough to cut through 27 years of marriage in a single moment. My hands trembled as I read it again. Forgive me, Lord. I no longer love her the way she deserves. I don't know how to tell her. I pressed the note to my chest and felt something inside me break. People say heartbreak is just a metaphor, but no, child, heartbreak is physical. It's a tightness that squeezes your ribs until you can't breathe. A sound ringing in your head that won't quiet down. A heaviness in your stomach like you swallowed a stone. I sat there for I don't know how long, staring at the bedroom wall where we had once hung our wedding picture. The one with my veil blowing in the wind and his arm proudly wrapped around me. Had it all really faded? Had I been living in a memory while he lived in a truth I didn't know? I finally made myself stand. My knees felt weak, and I gripped the dresser to keep from falling. The house felt colder. The silence felt heavier. Even the clock ticking on the wall sounded different, almost mocking. I walked to the kitchen, hoping maybe he had left another clue. Another note, something, anything. But there was nothing. Not a single sign of a man preparing to leave the woman who had shared his entire life. Instead, I found something else. A casserole dish. The one I made for him yesterday. Still untouched. I sank into a chair. All the little moments I had overlooked came rushing back. The late nights, the distant looks, the wiped away tears I thought were from stress, not from guilt. Then the front door opened. I froze. He walked in, his eyes tired, his shoulders slumped. He saw the Bible in my hands, the unfolded note on the table, and his face went pale. Where did you find that?" he whispered. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "In the pages of the Book of Psalms," I said quietly. "Right where you left it." His breath caught, and for the first time in our marriage, he looked truly afraid. He looked at me as if I had suddenly grown 100 years older overnight. The weight in the room was suffocating. The clock ticked, but I swear every second stretched into eternity. I held the Bible tighter, and Emily, still sitting quietly in the corner, clutched her backpack like a lifeline. My note," he stammered. His voice was barely audible, trembling in a way I'd never heard before. I didn't think anyone would find it. I stood slowly, my hands shaking. You didn't think I would find it? Or you didn't think the truth would ever reach me? He sank into the nearest chair. His eyes, usually so warm, were clouded with shame. For a moment, the man I had loved for decades felt like a stranger. A stranger hiding layers I had never imagined. Emily spoke, her voice soft but unwavering. I think you should tell her everything. She deserves to know. He flinched at her words. Everything? Yes, all of it, I said firmly. No more hiding, no more secrets. A long silence followed. Then he began. I had a daughter before we met, he admitted. I didn't want to tell you. I thought it would ruin our lives. I thought I could keep her away from the pain. But after she was born, I realized I couldn't be a part of her life the way I should have been. And when I met you, you became my world. I promised myself I'd never let anyone come between us again. Emily's eyes glistened with tears. She looked at him, then at me, and whispered, I've been searching for answers my entire life. Now, I'm here. My heart ached for her, for all of us, for the years lost. I sank into my chair, feeling the weight of decades pressing down on me. And this note? I asked, gesturing toward the paper still in my hands. He swallowed hard. I wrote it for you just in case something ever happened to me. I wanted you to know the truth about everything. I felt a lump in my throat, the anger, the hurt, the betrayal. All of it was still there, simmering beneath the surface. But there was something else now, a fragile thread of understanding, a glimpse of the man I had loved, imperfections and all. Emily moved closer. I came here because I wanted to meet you, to know the woman who raised the man who is my father. I didn't know how you would react, but I had to try. I reached out and took her hand. Your family, I whispered, my voice breaking. And we will figure this out together. At that moment, the house felt alive again, but in a way that was bittersweet. A mixture of grief, relief, and hope. I realized then that life doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for honesty, for courage, for the willingness to face what we fear most. And as I looked at Emily and then at my husband, I knew that the journey ahead would be long, painful, and full of surprises. But it was also a chance for healing, for understanding, for love that had been buried under years of secrets. Suddenly, Emily whispered something that made my blood run cold. There's someone else. Someone who knows about this note. Someone dangerous. My heart stopped. The shadows in the room seemed darker. And I realized our lives were about to change in ways none of us could have imagined. The room went silent. Emily's words hung in the air like a storm cloud I could feel pressing against my chest. Someone dangerous? My mind raced, but I forced myself to stay calm, for Emily's sake, for mine. My husband looked like a man who had just been caught in a hurricane. His hands trembled as he ran them over his face. I should have told you earlier, he muttered. I never wanted you to know. Not like this. Not like this. I whispered. How else would I know if not like this? You've been hiding secrets for years, and now someone is following my granddaughter, my family. Perhaps even me. Emily shivered. I noticed a car. Someone in a dark sedan. I thought it was just coincidence, but I'm not sure anymore. My pulse quickened. I couldn't believe it. After all the secrets revealed, now a threat? I gripped the Bible tightly, feeling the weight of my husband's past pressing down on me like a stone. We need to be careful, he said quietly. This note, it mentions things that certain people wouldn't want revealed. People who had interests in keeping the past buried. Emily's eyes widened. Interests? What do you mean? I exhaled slowly. We'll need to find out. But first we need to make sure we're safe. I don't want anything to happen to you, Emily. You've come all this way into a world you barely understand. She nodded, trembling. I'm scared. But I had to know the truth. I needed to see where I come from, who my father is, who my family is. I reached out and held her hand again. You're safe here. For now. But we must act wisely. Secrets don't stay buried forever, and sometimes those who seek to hide them will go to dangerous lengths to protect them. Suddenly the doorbell rang. We froze. No one was supposed to visit at this hour. A shadow appeared at the frosted glass. I felt a chill run down my spine. Emily whispered. Could it be them? My heart pounded. I motioned for her to stay back. Slowly I walked to the door. Through the glass I could see a tall figure, face obscured. My hand hesitated on the doorknob. Who could it be? A friend? Or the person Emily had feared? The figure knocked again. Louder this time. My mind raced, thinking of every possibility. But one thing was certain. The world I had known, safe in my little home, had just shattered. I opened the door a crack. The stranger was silent. No words. Just a hand extended, holding a small, sealed envelope. My husband's face went pale. That wasn't supposed to arrive yet, he said, his voice trembling. Emily gasped. What's inside? I took the envelope cautiously. It was heavy, almost like it carried the weight of secrets itself. The seal bore an emblem I didn't recognize, and I had the strange feeling that opening it would change everything. I hesitated, looking at Emily and my husband. Do we open it now? My husband shook his head. Not here. Not yet. Whoever sent this, they're watching. We need to be careful. We need to think before we act. I felt my stomach twist. Years of being careful, of hiding pain, had led to this moment. And now the stakes were higher than ever. Emily looked at me, tears in her eyes. Grandma, whatever's inside, I want to face it with you. Please. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Together. The stranger stepped back, tipped his head, and disappeared into the shadows. The street outside was silent again, but I knew he would return, and whatever secrets were in that envelope would soon put all of us in danger. I clutched Emily's hand. My mind was racing, my heart heavy. The woman who had spent decades protecting her family was now facing a new storm, one far more dangerous than anything I had imagined. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The envelope sat on the kitchen table, innocuous and quiet, but I could feel it pulsating with danger. I stared at it as if it could speak, as if it could reveal the secrets my husband had buried for decades. Emily clutched my hand, her eyes wide with fear and anticipation, and I felt a surge of protective instinct I hadn't known I still possessed. Grandma, we need to open it, Emily whispered. Her voice was soft but firm. We've waited this long. I need to know. I swallowed hard. Every fiber of my being screamed caution. Yet, curiosity and the desperate need for truth clawed at me. I reached out and broke the seal. Slowly, carefully. The paper inside was thick, aged, and smelled faintly of old ink and leather. A scent that reminded me of my husband's study, a place where secrets had been whispered into the darkness. I unfolded the paper. It was a letter. Handwritten. Every stroke precise. every curve deliberate. But the words made my blood run cold. If you are reading this, then the truth can no longer be hidden. Emily is not only my daughter, but she has a claim to what certain people would do anything to keep from the world. Protect her. Protect her at all costs. She must never know the extent of the danger unless absolutely necessary. I dropped the letter. My fingers trembled. Emily picked it up gently, and I watched her eyes grow even wider. Danger? What kind of danger? She asked. I had no answer. None at all. The weight of my husband's life, his secrets, and now Emily's very existence pressed down on me. I felt as though the house itself was closing in, like every wall and corner was aware of the storm that was coming. Suddenly the lights flickered. Not a random flicker, a deliberate tense pause. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stretch, moving closer, watching. Emily clutched my arm. Grandma, someone's here. I froze. My instincts screamed. Stay calm. Don't make a sound, I whispered. A knock at the door shattered the silence. Sharp, urgent, commanding. I exchanged a glance with my husband. He shook his head subtly, fear written on his face. Whoever it was, they were connected to the secrets my husband had left behind. I slowly walked to the door, my heart hammering. I cracked it open just a sliver. Outside, a figure in a dark coat and hat stood silently, holding a small package, eyes hidden. They know, my husband breathed. Emily gasped. I knew in that moment that our lives had just been pulled into a dangerous game. We didn't move. The stranger turned and walked slowly away, leaving the package on our doorstep. I grabbed it with trembling hands and brought it inside. The package contained a small locked box. No markings. No instructions. Just a tiny key taped to the bottom. My husband paled. That key opens a safe. A safe I thought was long forgotten. But it contains evidence. Evidence people would kill to keep hidden. Emily looked at me, fear and curiosity battling in her gaze. Grandma, what do we do? I swallowed hard. My heart was racing. The woman who had always been the anchor, the protector, was now facing an invisible enemy. But I could not let fear paralyze me. We find out the truth, I said firmly. We open that safe. Together. As I inserted the key into the box, a sudden noise upstairs made us freeze. A faint creak of the floorboard, deliberate, slow, as if someone was listening. Emily clutched my arm. Grandma, they're inside the house. I shushed her, trying to remain calm. My mind raced through every possible scenario. Whoever had been following her, whoever wanted the secrets of that note, was closer than we realized. And as the lock clicked open, revealing the contents inside, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. The box contained photographs, documents, and letters, all tied to people and events my husband had tried to keep hidden. And at the very top, a single envelope addressed to Emily, in handwriting that made my heart skip a beat. This is for her, I whispered. Her hand shook as she opened it, and as she read the words, her face turned pale. Grandma, it's worse than I imagined. Emily's hands trembled as she unfolded the envelope. I watched her face pale, her lips quivering. The words inside were more than shocking, they were terrifying. Emily, you are in danger. The people who want to hide the truth about your father's past will stop at nothing. Trust no one outside this home. Your mother and I are your only allies. Keep this letter hidden and never, under any circumstances, go alone. I felt my heart clench. The weight of the warning pressed down on me like a stone. I looked at Emily and saw the fear mirrored in her eyes. We need to stay calm," I whispered, though my voice shook. "We cannot panic no matter what this says." My husband's face was pale and drawn. "I never thought it would come to this. I tried to protect her, but I see now it's far worse than I imagined." Suddenly, the sound of tires screeching outside shattered the tense silence. Emily jumped. I rushed to the window. A black SUV had stopped in front of the house. Two men got out, moving quickly and deliberately. "They're coming," my husband whispered, his voice almost inaudible. "We don't have much time." Emily grabbed my arm. "Grandma, what do we do?" I took a deep breath, my hands trembling but my mind racing. "We hide the box and prepare for anything. Stay close to me." I felt the familiar surge of determination, the same determination that had carried me through every hardship in my life. Now it would carry me through this danger too. We quickly moved the documents and letters to a hidden compartment in the floor. I secured it carefully, praying no one would find it. Emily followed my every move, her trust in me absolute. Then came the knock. Hard, insistent, dangerous. My husband peeked through the blinds. The men were inspecting the porch, scanning every corner as if they knew the secrets were just beneath their feet. I motioned for Emily and him to stay back. My mind raced for options. Calling the police might alert the intruders that we knew something, but doing nothing wasn't safe either. Suddenly, the front door handle rattled violently. The intruders were trying to force their way in. Emily whispered, "Grandma, I'm scared." I held her close. "I know, my dear, but fear will not control us. We have the truth on our side, and that is stronger than anything they can do." I grabbed my phone, quietly dialing 911. My hands shook, but I forced myself to speak calmly, giving our address and explaining the situation. Minutes felt like hours. Every sound in the house, the ticking clock, the creak of the floorboards, the wind outside, was amplified. My heart raced. And then a shadow passed by the window. I held my breath. Whoever they were closer than we thought. And the night was only beginning. The house was silent, but every shadow seemed alive. Emily clung to my side, trembling, and my husband stood near the kitchen, his eyes scanning every corner. The black SUV had vanished from the street, but I knew it was only temporary. Whoever had come for the letters for Emily, they would return. I held the phone tightly, waiting for the operator's voice to connect. Each second stretched into an eternity. My hands were clammy, my pulse racing like a drum. Emily's eyes were wide with fear, but she didn't move away from me. She trusted me, and I couldn't fail her. "Grandma, do you think they'll find the box?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "They might, but we've hidden it well, and no one will get it without knowing what they're looking for." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the back door. My heart leapt. Someone was trying to break in. Emily gasped, and my husband muttered a prayer under his breath. I motioned for them to stay low. Slowly, I moved to the door, peeking through the peephole. Two men were outside, masked, moving with purpose. Their eyes scanned the windows as if they could see through the walls. I backed away, feeling my chest tighten. Whoever they were professionals, and they weren't leaving until they found what they came for. We moved quickly to the living room, crouching behind the sofa. Emily's breathing was uneven, and I felt her tiny hand clutch mine tightly. My husband whispered, "We should wait for the police. They'll arrive any moment." Minutes crawled by. The banging and scraping on the back door continued. I kept repeating in my mind, stay calm. Stay calm. But my body betrayed me. My hands shook, my teeth chattered, and my stomach churned. Then silence. Too quiet. My eyes darted to the window. And that's when I saw them. Two figures moving in the shadows, circling the house, clearly waiting for something. Emily gasped again. Grandma! They're circling us. I held her close. We won't let them hurt us. We have the truth, and that's power. Remember that. Suddenly the phone buzzed. The operator had connected. I whispered urgently, giving our location again, emphasizing the danger. Outside, the figures froze, as if they sensed someone had alerted the authorities. One of the masked men raised his hand, signaling to the other. They vanished into the darkness, but I knew it wasn't over. I looked at Emily and my husband. We survived tonight, but this is only the beginning. They will be back. And when they do, we must be ready. Emily nodded, her face pale but resolute. I realized then that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. And that night, as we huddled together in the living room, I promised myself that no matter what came next, I would protect my family, even if it meant confronting shadows from a past I never knew existed. The house was quiet now, but the tension lingered like a thick fog. Emily sat beside me, clutching her knees, eyes wide and trembling. My husband paced the kitchen, muttering under his breath, glancing at every window and shadow. The police were on their way, but I knew the danger wasn't gone. Whoever had sent the men, whoever wanted the letters and photographs, would not give up easily. I reached for the hidden box. We need to understand what's inside. Everything we've done so far. It leads to this moment. Emily nodded. Grandma, I'm ready. I need to know the truth. We opened the box carefully. Inside were documents, photographs, and letters, evidence of long-buried secrets, of betrayals and lies. Among them was a file marked, Emily, do not open until necessary. Her hand shook as she opened it. I held my breath. Inside were papers revealing her father's early life, connections to powerful people, and a scandal that had been hidden for decades. Names, dates, and events, all pointing to a danger that could reach beyond our family, into places I had never imagined. Emily gasped. Grandma, this explains everything. Why people were following me. Why someone wants the past buried. I wrapped my arm around her. It's okay. We face this together. Whatever comes, we'll protect each other. Suddenly, my husband's face went pale. He pulled out a small envelope from the box. There's one more thing. Something I should have told you long ago. Emily and I leaned closer. He opened it. Inside was a note, handwritten by someone we had trusted. The truth is dangerous. Protect Emily at all costs. There are those who would stop at nothing to prevent her from knowing her inheritance, her father's legacy, and the secrets tied to this family. Be careful, time is running out. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Grandma, what does this mean? I held her close. It means our fight isn't over. But now we know. And knowledge is power. A loud crash echoed from the back of the house. My heart skipped a beat. The intruders had returned. I motioned for Emily and my husband to move toward the hidden room. Stay quiet. Stay low. We'll face this together. The shadows outside flickered as the intruders searched for the box. But they didn't know we had moved it. Not yet. I whispered to Emily. Whatever happens, remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. And right now we must be brave. Outside, the wind howled, and the night seemed to close in around us. But inside, a grandmother's determination burned brighter than ever. We were ready. The night felt endless. Every creak, every whisper of wind, every shadow seemed alive with threat. Emily and I crouched in the hidden room, my husband close by, the box of secrets secured. My mind raced. How did it come to this? How had decades of secrets and lies finally erupted into danger in our very home? But I knew one thing: we had each other. And that was more powerful than fear. Suddenly, a loud banging on the front door shattered the fragile silence. Emily gasped. I gripped her hand tightly. Stay calm, I whispered, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. The police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. I knew help was almost here, but the intruders didn't know that. My husband peeked through the blinds. 2 masked men were trying to force their way in, but they froze as the flashing lights approached. Relief surged through me, but it was tempered by the knowledge that our battle wasn't over. The intruders fled as soon as the police arrived, disappearing into the night. Officers secured the area, questioned us carefully, and reassured us that we were safe for now. But I knew deep down that this was only a temporary reprieve. Whoever had tried to take the letters, whoever had tried to threaten Emily, would not rest easily. Emily clutched the documents tightly. Tears streamed down her face. Grandma, I can't believe everything my father, everything our family, kept hidden. I held her close. I know, my dear, but the truth has a way of coming out. And now that you know, you can face it. You can choose what to do with it. We sat together, reading through the letters, photographs, and documents. The picture became clearer. A web of lies, of betrayal, of people willing to go to any length to hide the truth. But the more we read, the more empowered we became. Emily's fear slowly transformed into determination. My husband's shame turned into resolve. And I felt the weight of years lift from my shoulders. The past had threatened to destroy us, but together we were stronger. I took Emily's hands in mine. Remember this moment, I said softly. This is the moment we decide we will not be victims of fear. We will protect our family, honor the truth, and move forward with courage. She nodded, wiping her tears. Grandma, I understand. Promise, we'll be brave. Together. We embraced, the tension of the night finally beginning to fade. Outside, the first hints of dawn crept across the sky, casting light on a house that had been shadowed by secrets for far too long. And in that light, I realized something profound. The truth, no matter how painful, had a power to set us free. Emily looked at me, voice trembling with emotion. Grandma, thank you for protecting me, for guiding me, for showing me courage. I smiled through my own tears. You don't need to thank me, my dear. Family is everything. And sometimes, a grandmother's love is the strongest shield of all. As the sun rose, I felt hope. I felt strength. And I knew that whatever storms came next, we would face them together, unafraid, and ready to protect the truth that had been hidden for far too long. The past had been revealed, the danger had passed for now. And I, a grandmother who had seen decades of life, love, and loss, knew one truth above all. Courage, love, and family can withstand even the darkest of nights.